We are going to start with Karen McAnulty and Chris Bishop talking about tax cuts. It's only one clip. It's about 4 minutes. I'm sure we'll come in and out as we're talking to it. But a couple of big things about this and that comes out of this. We are continuing to see and say that these tax cuts, and Karen uses this question, are coming at any cost. So they're making these tax cuts at any cost. And one of the things that frustrates me most about this conversation is one of the reasons that Chris Bishop says they're sticking with their tax cuts is because we haven't had one since 2010. Now, I don't know about you, Chewy, but that doesn't feel like a good enough reason because we haven't had one since 2010. He says it a couple of times like it's a good reason, because the people want one because we haven't had one. We'll talk about this when we get to the end of this clip as well as to what it actually means, because I did some numbers today and it becomes fairly obvious that the people who need a tax cut, who need more money, aren't getting one, and the people that don't need it are going to get one so small it's going to make no difference. We'll look at that towards the end, looking at actually Chris Bishop's income and salary himself. So here we go. Let's have a look at tax cuts at any cost with Karen McAnulty and the Bish.
Chris, I'll start with you. I mean, no surplus for the next 4 years. The economy is a bit depressed. And we heard from economist Shambil Ekawab. He described the government strategy as a pamphlet, light on details, high on electioneering. Your government was caught flat-footed. What do you say to that?
Well, the budget policy statement is a short document by definition. The full details get released at the end of May when the budget comes out. Well, look, we've inherited a very set of tricky economic circumstances.
So in those tricky circumstances economically, what we thought would be the best thing to do, Chewy, is to basically give $3 billion out of that tricky situation back to landlords. And you weren't here last night, but there was news last night that the government is short of revenue, $2.8 billion per year. $13.9 billion over the next 5 years. So they're short of revenue for their projections of $2.8 billion, but they're still going with their tax cuts that are giving landlords $2.9 billion. Yeah, it's a strange offset. I don't know how that could work together in a better way, but
That's so weird.
It's weird, eh? Isn't that totally weird?
It's like one of those memes that's like, help me balance my budget.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting out this spending $11,000 on candles, but if you could help me balance my budget, that'd be great. Like, have they got to the point where they have to admit that they're borrowing to fund these tax cuts yet?
No, they say they're absolutely not. They say they're able to do it without
borrowing. It's coming.
It.
I can feel it though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the budget. We'll see what happens.
A big increase in spending over the last 6 years, 84%. Debt is high.
Inflation
is high.
Yep.
What caused
big
that?
Increase? Because I thought you said pause that. COVID. Debt is high. It's actually not high compared to the rest of the world, 20%.
Yep.
But higher than it was. It's like I've probably told this story before. I had a builder to build a deck for me when I was in Auckland, and he said to me, do you want hardwood or softwood? And I went, well, what's the difference? And he goes, hardwood's much more expensive. And I went, okay, well, we'll do the softwood if you think it's okay. He goes, yeah, it'll be fine. Get to the end of the job, about an $8,000 build. And at that point, he told me it would have been $500 more for the hardwood. That was the point he told me. So I'm very keen, and I learned a lesson with that, which is when someone says it's much more expensive, I'll go, how much more? Like, what is the number? Because these guys will do that. They'll say it's a big waste of money because it's $33 million. They don't tell you it might be out of $1 billion. They don't give you the enough information to contextualize it for whether that's big or little. And so lots of debt. Yeah, okay, more than people who have a mortgage, but compared to the rest of the world, actually really, really good. Yeah. So we've got to always contextualize these
context.
things.
Nobody asks for the context. And then so they're able to run with this thing of like, debt is high.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, then what the fuck? Show us how. How is it high? Is it high per capita? Is it high versus our GDP? Is it high compared to other countries? Like explain yourself.
And if it is high, we should be doing everything we can to pay it down. And one of the ways you could get an extra $2.9 billion a year to pay it down is not do tax cuts to landlords.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep going, eh?
And of course, New Zealanders don't have a lot to show for that. And of course, low growth as well. So we got those December GDP numbers out.
So then why would you offer tax cuts?
Great question.
Well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, New Zealanders have not had a tax cut since 2010.
Number one
Don't
reason
care.
off the bat. Yeah, like it's not whether it's good or bad, it's positive or negative, it's inflationary, it's uninflationary, just because we haven't had one for a while. That's one of his. That's his go-to answer. Answer number one.
And we think that's time they get tax relief and get help with the cost of living. And secondly, it is possible to do that at the same time as moving resources from the back office to the front line. We also campaigned on it, and we intend to deliver on it. So we are.
That's actually true. Actually, to a level that's pig-headed, they won't not do it because they said they would, right? And that's actually true. One of the reasons they're doing it is because they said they would. And they know that if they don't do what they said they would come next election, they've lost all credibility. I mean, anyone with an ounce of sense would say they've lost credibility already, but this is one of the things. We said we do it, and now we're stuck in a cycle that we have to, even if every economist in New Zealand says it's the wrong thing to do, Chewy.
Yeah. These guys, the party of numbers, the party of yeah,
Business.
Like I'm being asked in the chat, am I going to donate my tax cut? What did we work it out for the average wage? Was it less than $17?
Single figures.
Fortnight,
Yeah, single
or
figures
something like
per
that.
week.
I already donate where I can. So yeah, look, this is the path of that argument. If you don't want it, are you going to donate it? I tell you where that path goes to, is that if people want to be altruistic, they can be. It's no place of the government to do so. Like social services should be funded by generous souls, and guess what happens when that turns around? They don't get any money.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, I don't want a tax cut. I want the things that keep this society humming to be paid for. I'm talking about government departments being accurately staffed. I'm talking about teachers, nurses, police being accurately paid and resourced. You notice those things more than I'm going to notice $17 maybe every fortnight, but my bus fares have gone up more than that.
Yeah, and I mean, think about, we'll do this at the end, right? At the end of this clip, I'll give out the numbers, but think about all the people who are getting $5 or less per week. It's not going to help them. I don't care. Every single dollar helps. No. People aren't out $3 a week. Their budgets aren't, oh my gosh, if only I had another $3. But collectively, those million people at $3 a week, that could do something to the economy. How many hips is that? $3 million a week from a million people not getting their $3. For the person getting $3, doesn't do anything. Combined, the whole put it into the storehouse idea, that's the whole point. I can remember doing this, maybe it was 2010 because I was working at ZB at the time, figuring out that I was going to get $10 a week, and that meant $1 billion back to the people out of the government coffers. And I said then, and I'll say it again now, $10 a week, lovely, fine, nice to have, but $1 billion a year for the economy, for the hips, for the retired people, for the teachers, for the nurses, it's a much better use of the money, in my opinion. So
the follow-up question from the same viewer, like night follows day, is, are you okay borrowing for that then, Chewy? No, I'm not. I've been very clear on this for quite a few months now. It's not about borrowing money. It's about looking at the people that are hoarding money, who are paying a lower comparative tax rate to me. They're paying. We know this. The investigation's been done. The evidence presented. That the richest of us are paying less than 9% tax. That is not right. If we fix that, then suddenly, oh shit, nurses are getting a pay rise, teachers are getting a pay rise. Roads are getting fixed. Like this is a remarkable amount of money.
yeah,
But everyone's too scared to tackle that problem. And we're not talking about people that earn a good wage. We're talking about the ultra wealthy.
yeah.
300 families. That's it.
All right, we'll see
That's
if
where
these
the money
lads,
is.
what else these lads have got to say.
Absolutely going to deliver tax relief in the budget, and people will see the details in a couple of months.
Kieran, you're listening to this. Is now the right time for tax cuts, given economists have warned not to give tax cuts at this stage?
Yeah, look, when the National Party loses economists, they really should take pause for thought there. When you've got the likes of Cameron Baggery and Brad Olson and others saying, or at least questioning whether this is a smart move at the moment, it is a hard thing to sell, I think, when New Zealanders are losing and the things that they care about, and there's questions about other things that really make a difference, like school lunches, etc. When the government is giving $2.9 billion to landlords and then say, no, we can't afford the services that Kiwis enjoy. No, I don't think this is time for tax cuts. The National Party's plan didn't add up before the election, and it doesn't add up now. And I think the most telling thing about the release of the policy statement was that the allowance that every finance minister leading up to a budget has announced at this point wasn't announced yesterday. Something's not right. Someone doesn't agree with someone else. And so Nicola couldn't do what is the convention and release what the allowance is for the budget. So it's actually not good enough. It's not good enough to say, oh, well, it'll be below this point. If the finance minister basically should just do what everyone else does and be upfront with Kiwis as to what's going to be spent.
The difference between
Now, that was said by a few commentators yesterday as well. Basically, the reason that there is a lot of wiggle room in that announcement yesterday, the statement, is that they haven't got everything across the line yet. And they've got to go through New Zealand First, who doesn't want tax cuts, and ACT, who would go much, much further with tax cuts. And so you're going to have this room where they've promised tax cuts and they have to negotiate with someone who wants more and someone who wants none. And that's why they've been, according to several commentators, that's why they've been a bit... well, I think Shamuel Jacob talked about it's a pamphlet or whatever word he used. So this is part of it.
What we need is a side-by-side column, right, of what we can't have so these landlords can get their tax cuts, right? We can't have vital national infrastructure protected in the long term. We can't have kids being fed and kids being able to take the bus to work to school. Yep. We can't have disability support. We can't have this, that, and the other thing. And you go, is this worth it? This is what you get, and this is what we're taking away from you and the people around you. And like, it's not being anti-tax cut. It's going. There's so many reasons why National should just take a knee on this and go, you know what? We've had a look at the books. The numbers don't work. You know, they can even spin this however they want. I think
blame Labor. They could blame Labor.
They could blame Labor. They could go back on the fact that, like, hey, look, we're good economic stewards, even though that's not backed up with history. But they could say it, and they could get their numbers to work. They could take stock and redo. If you have a position and you keep that position in the face of evidence, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I actually think in this conversation, it comes up, we'll go back to it now, that about when John Key promised tax cuts, he had to actually say first time around, okay, we have to put these off because we can't. He actually did that. I think that comes up in this conversation.
Us and between Nicola and Grant Robertson is that Grant would publish an allowance in the budget policy statement and then break it in every budget. We're intending to publish a budget allowance in the budget and stick to it. That's part of the reason why we've got such big increases in spending is that Grant
But Chris, we
couldn't
do
keep
know
the
that
spending
former
under
Prime
control.
Minister John Key, he also talked about tax cuts, but he held off for a year. Do you think Nicola Willis would consider this and maybe hold it off for a year?
The National Party campaigned. Everyone remembers the election campaign. It was the centrepiece of the election.
So this just shows how terrible they are at politics, how terrible they are at actually. So basically what you're saying is if you start, remember the business party, if you started a business and you said to the shareholders and to the board as the new CEO, we're going to go in and we're going to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. You got into that business and you saw the books and you realized you couldn't do that. And if you did, it would be detrimental to the business. The right thing to do as a CEO would then be to say, hey guys, we've looked at the books. It's not going to work. So we're going to reassess. We're still going to get there, but it's not going to happen now. To actually say, he's actually saying, because we promised we were going to do it, nothing else matters. We have to do it. It's a terrible, terrible practice, and it's a piss poor business practice from the I'm good at business party.
Yeah, absolutely.
That the National Party alongside our coalition government won to deliver tax relief because New Zealanders have faced a prolonged cost of living crisis and have not had a tax cut since 2010.
Who cares?
That is 14 years that New Zealanders have been waiting for adjustments
You can count. Well done, son.
to tax brackets, and more New Zealanders are paying higher and higher rates of tax. We think we can get spending under control, get the debt curve trending down.
Okay, so here's the challenge. We think we can get spending under control. Okay. There's this philosophy in business about what money do you spend. Do you spend tomorrow's money, which is the invoices that go out? You shouldn't spend that money. Do you spend today's money, which are the invoices that have come back to you? Probably not. Do you spend yesterday's money? Tomorrow's, today's, yesterday's. You want to spend yesterday's money. You want to spend the money that's in the bank, not today's money or not tomorrow's money. You want to spend yesterday's money. These guys are saying we can get spending down. So, okay, here's the challenge. Get spending down and then do your tax cuts. Like don't do the tax cuts. Don't do the dessert first and go, oh, we imagine that our first two courses are going to be really good as well. Get your first two courses really good and then have the dessert. Don't throw the dessert out first, because what you're saying is we have to do it. They haven't done it since 2014. We promised it, so we're going to, and trust us, everything will be fine. That's what they're saying, Chewy.
It's an absolutely classic thing to under-promise and over-deliver. Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they ran their election campaign on even the same things that the Bish is saying here? It has been a long time since tax relief has been delivered. We believe that New Zealanders deserve it. We want to deliver them for the second budget, right? And then you get in and you see the books and you go, oh shit, things are worse than we thought. Thank God we didn't promise tax cuts this time round. Or alternatively, get in, you see Labour's built up a big surplus, and you go, you know what? We'll drop this on people in the first budget.
Yeah.
Like, either way, you come out on top.
Yeah.
What they've done is they've made some stupid promises.
Well, it's
And
more than that, though.
we are
They've
going to see
made stupid
privatisation.
they've made stupid promises, and now they're being so pig-headed to stick to them. So everyone makes election promises that they're not going to be able to fulfill, especially in a coalition. But step one is they made stupid promises. Step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to probably step 99, is now they're forcing them through. That's the thing, yeah? All right, well, this has got about 45 seconds to go.
Down and deliver meaningful tax relief to middle-income New Zealanders, and we will deliver that in the budget.
Your
Doing a lot of
question at
heavy
the start,
lifting.
at what cost? That's the key issue here. And we're already starting to see the cost of these tax cuts, but the real answer to that won't be revealed till later. The forecasts show that there's nearly $14 billion less revenue coming into the government. They're choosing to give what revenue they do have away. And I think we're going to feel that in reduced services over time. And that's actually not what Kiwis want.
It's not giving it away. It is letting New Zealanders keep more of the money that they earned in the first place. I think that's quite a telling comment, that giving away things is equivalent to letting people keep more of what they earn. It's different.
$2.9 billion.
Okay, let's just move on to another topic.
2.9, it's a really hard thing to argue, isn't it? $2.9 billion to landlords. So here's something I want to show you. I went onto National's calculator and I put in Chris Bishop's numbers, right? 300,000 salary, that's what it says. That's the pretty much what ministers get. They can get a bit more. I did a bit of research. I could be wrong, but I said he had one child. I saw on his Wikipedia he's had a son recently. Maybe he's more. So I don't know if it's exactly right? But the number that it spat back at me was $40.10 a fortnight. I've even got that wrong. A fortnight. So $20 a week is what he would be getting. So that means my tweet is actually wrong, because what I've said.
How much is a pack of smokes these days?
Yeah, more than that. Chris Bishop was pontificating on how tax cuts are going to help people today. The ones who need more money will get $2 to $5 a week, which doesn't help. Bishop will go from about $5,770 per week, and this number's wrong because I read it as a week, to what it should be is $5,790 a week, which he doesn't need. What's this all about again? So the ones who need it are getting something that won't help, and the ones that don't need it are getting something they don't need. What the fuck is this all about? Like, what is this all about when they're telling us we're not going to be back in surplus now till 2028 at the same time as giving away all this money in tax cuts? This is where you blow
It's
your valve,
dumb.
Chewie.
It's fucking dumb. Yeah, like I think you've absolutely nailed it. It's not helping anyone. It's literally not helping anybody.
Yeah.
Like he can't even get an extra pack of smokes per week.
Mind you, he's probably got mates rates in that area, wouldn't you think?
This has still got a garage full from when he was a lobbyist. Yeah. I mean, is anybody out there really saying that this is going to make a meaningful change in their life?
Well, that's what they keep saying. This is something people need and want.
Certainly, if you have children under the age of 18, things are going to be dramatically worse. You're paying more for their bus fee. You're paying more for their early childhood education. You're paying more for, nothing's being done about the supermarkets. Fuel excise is going up. If you're disabled, if you're finding it hard to feed your family, potentially that's on the chopping block as well, that there's not food from the school. It fundamentally is going to be worse for people at the lower end, just like we said it was going to.
Yeah.
Just like it always has been for National. And the people that are at the top of the list, the front of the line with their plates out, are fucking landlords, property owners, the property owning class. So all of this talk, and we singled it out in the run up to the election, all of this talk about everyday hardworking New Zealanders, middle income and wage earners, this is all bullshit. It was bullshit from the start. It's bullshit now. And they're going to hammer that line. And the question I have for anybody that voted for National, based on that, are you happy with your $2 to $4? Or are you someone that is stacking up rental properties? So actually, you are pretty happy. But it's certain that's not the majority of New Zealanders. That's not an everyday hard work. Like I can understand an everyday hard working New Zealander having a rental property. That's fine. We're not talking about you. We're talking to the people that have 5 or 6.